He promised to make America.
Who knew I would make it this far? They hated, they never believe me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic gotta say. I got them picking up the pieces. That to me, you really playing with your life. I'm about to come and run it all back. I'm the new era, about to snap back. You ain't fitted for it, cause you all cap like. Hold up, I shoot my shot, wait, hold up. I'm really about to run this go up. You know it's all net when it go up. Ain't got no other plans, you don't need to understand, ayy. We on overtime, you don't need to understand, ayy. You just show them how to do it when you don't know what to say. Tell me how you plan to win if you plan to play the same. Moving fast, already gone, yeah, but you bringing me back. Try to double cross me, dog, just let me relax. Stop assuming what we doing. Keep it moving, what we doing. Cause it can get big right. Cause it can get big right. Cause it can get big right. Hey, please don't play no games with me. I promise I'm too much. Hey, I can never let up even if you had enough. Hey, this ain't for the faint of heart. We always playing rough. I had enough, it ain't luck. I needed a vision, I needed ambition, I needed a mission to beat this submission with no intermission. I see the collision, the crash in the distance, they coming off track, no. Now when they ask what's the motive, don't talk, I just show them. They all about to see what I mean in the moment. I gotta keep going, I'm shaking the dice and I'm keeping it rolling, they already know. Ain't got no other plans, you don't need to understand, ayy. We on overtime, you don't need to understand, ayy. You just show them how to do it when you don't know what to say. Tell me how you plan to win if you plan to play so. Moving fast, already gone, yeah, but you bringing me back. Try to double cross me, dog, just let me relax. Stop assuming what we doing. Keep it moving, what we doing. Cause it can get big right. Cause it can get big right. Cause it can get big right.
Yep. Good morning. Or good afternoon, whatever it is. Clap it up. Clap it up. We in the building. Here to talk this boxing talk, chop it up with the community. It is what it is, man. Great weekend of fights, right? For sure. Shout out to that Emmanuel NAVARATTE, Eduardo Sugar Nunez card in general. And obviously the main event delivered as well, as we have a new crowned unified champion in Emmanuel NAVARATTE. I'm not surprised, but I'm surprised. We'll talk about it, right? Because NAVARATTE really impressed me on different levels. So exceeded my expectations in certain spaces, but definitely knew he was more than capable of winning this fight. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I was favoring Sugar Nunez to get the victory in that one. I thought that he was just going to bring something else with the pedigree, but we'll talk about that for sure. You know what I mean? And what the landscape of the 130-pound division looks like on the back end of that, because there was other things going on in that event as well that we got to talk about. Other 130-pound fighters that were in the audience. Amazingly enough, not talking about fighting Emmanuel NAVARATTE, but we'll get into that as well. On other news, of course, you guys see the thumbnail. We'll be talking about extensively this Devin Haney, Rolly Romero, Ryan Garcia love triangle, I'm going to call it, right? And where we are right now in that situation, because you know, it's such a roller coaster. Whereas in a week to 2 weeks ago, we were wondering what Devin Haney was going to do next. What was Devin Haney going to do next? It looked like his options were limited. kind of seemed like he was being forced to reach outside of 147 to make a fight happen, whether that was pulling up a Keyshawn Davis or Richardson Hitchens into a fight at 147, or maybe moving up to 154 to make something happen with the Xander Zayas, the current unified champion at 154. So it did seem like he was kind of being cornered, and we were all just last week having a conversation about what we thought was going to be the best move for Devin Haney. But lo and behold, Rolly Romero seems to have had a change of heart. And I mean, at the same time, Ryan Garcia was even talking positively about, being willing to make a fight with Devin Haney. Now, we know when it comes to the Ryan Garcia situation and the Devin Haney situation, there are some intangibles in there that, we can't look past, which is the last fight they had, the performance enhancement drug situation, the suspension, the cheating by Ryan Garcia's team in either doing it on purpose or just not paying close enough attention to the supplements they were taking. Either way, it's put Devin Haney's team a little bit more higher security alert when it comes to fighting Ryan Garcia. So there are things that come along with that. Ryan Garcia has pretty much almost gained back all the momentum he was having on him prior to the Devin Haney fight, maybe even more momentum now that he's a crowned WBC champion, but still was showing interest in the fight. But we know that one right there until the fat lady sings, it's not over with. But Rolly Romero was somebody who took the position of having no interest in fighting Devin Haney, saying Devin Haney was a boring fighter, and was way confident that he was going to do some other things after that Times Square fight that he had with Ryan Garcia. No rematch happened with Ryan Garcia. There were conversations about him and Manny Pacquiao potentially doing something. And there's always been this elephant in the room with Rolly Romero, which is a guy by the name of Shakram Giasov, right? And that guy's just always been kind of floating around, causing issues for Rolly. I'd argue that was a big reason why that fight didn't happen between Rolly Romero and Manny Pacquiao, was that mandatory that was there. Needless to say, they always say, and I take this with a grain of salt, because I've seen arguments, or I've seen things that happen in boxing that would argue against this being the common rule, but it's always, from my understanding, been unifications trump mandatories, right? So you would think that Rolly Romero could legitimately get out of his mandatory against a Giasov, who's a high risk, but on the low end, a low reward. Not a lot of money to be made on the back end of that fight. So looks like Rolly's made a full U-turn, had a change of heart, and all of a sudden has decided that Devin Haney is an opponent he's interested in being in ring with. There's a payday there for him, and now unifications and all those things, which I don't think Rolly really cares about that much. So we'll talk about that as well, because I'm also hearing that according to Dan Rafael, that there was a purse bid put into effect. Guys, if you could remember back to when Jerron Boots Ennis was trying to put a fight together with Brian Norman Jr., there was the same situation. A purse bid was floating over that situation. And according to Rachel Donaire, shout out to the queen, I haven't talked to Rachel in a minute, but shout out to Rachel Donaire, who was giving us clarification that the mandatory was not going to be the mandatory wasn't going to be moved out the way because of a potential unification with Brian Norman Jr. So I'm wondering if that's the case here. Does the Giasov mandatory take precedence over everything now that it's been initiated into a purse bid? We'll talk about all those things and how that affects it. So is Rolly Romero even in a position to make that fight happen? What would be the game plan? Would they be trying to pay Giasov step aside money to go ahead and make that fight happen? And is Giasov and Eddie Hearn okay with taking step aside money and making that fight? Because I do think there's an argument also there to be said that Giasov should be very confident go into that fight. And how does Eddie Hearn feel about that? Like, I can get my fighter a championship belt now, or I can wait for him to figure it out with Devin Haney, a fight where Devin Haney is favored to win. Now Devin Haney's unified. Do I want to put Chakram in there with Devin? Do I want to activate a mandatory in that? I mean, there's some money in it, I guess, because it's Devin Haney, but a hard fight to win, right? So a lot of decisions have to be made there. In other news coming out in the space right now, Virgil Ortiz Jr. and Golden Boys, with Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy, have hit another stage in that whole entire courtroom situation. It does seem like a judge has found in favor of Golden Boy to the point of moving this into arbitration. So it's not a complete victory for Golden Boy, as Golden Boy still still in there trying to figure it out and trying to win this case to hold the rights to Virgil Ortiz Jr. But what it's actually done is moved it into another stage called arbitration, right? You guys, I'm sure, are familiar. It's not the first time you heard it. I'm not a big legal whiz type of guy, but the best I could describe it is that this is more of a private situation now. It's not public. And this is more of corporate, almost a negotiation, an agreement that can be made before both teams that'll come to the table and figure out what common ground they can find. I would think that if you're asking me, this thing is probably going to carry on until the fourth quarter of this year. So more importantly for us as boxing fans, what that means is Virgil Ortiz Jr. and Jaron Boots Ennis is officially off the table. For a lot of us, I'm sure it's been off the table, right? We already kind of saw the writing on the wall, but this more in an official status, in an official way, is off the table now. So what's next for Jaron Boots Ennis? I think Virgil Ortiz Jr. is going to be sitting still for a second. His legal team and the Golden Boys legal team are going to be trying to figure this out. I heard something like maybe September or something like that. There should be a decision of some sort made in this, or at least more progress made in it that they're expecting to be around that time period. So we'll wait to see how that happens. You know, when it comes to that legal mumbo jumbo, that's not my thing. I'm not here trying to dissect and translate court documents and legal jargon. But that being said, what's next for Jaron Boots Ennis, a fighter who's been waiting on the sideline to make a big fight? We've been asking Jaron Boots Ennis to make a signature fight for a long time now. He did what he had to do at 147. He unified. He became a lineal champion. He had a hard time, to say the least. That would probably be an understatement of how difficult it was for him to make any of the big fights at 147. We, as Jaron Boots Ennis supporters and some of his fans, I'm sure were hoping that 154 would give a different environment for Jaron Boots Ennis, that there'd be more willing participants, that he'd be able to get into the bigger fights a lot easier. And one would argue that he was able to make a bigger fight easier with Virgil Ortiz Jr., but wanted to take his time with how he rolled into the division. He took a tune-up fight. The space did not embrace that idea, but that was with the understanding. A lot of us had patience saying, okay, in his next fight for 2026, we were going to see him get involved in a fight with Virgil Ortiz Jr. That fight, we know what direction has gone in the obstacle that's in front of it. Oscar De La Hoya, in my opinion, right? So what's next for him? We've talked on here, guys, about potential fights for Jaron Boots Ennis, one of them being Jermell Charlo, lines only. Now, Jermell Charlo has been campaigning as of lately, trying to make some big fights for whatever his reasons are. You guys can go into your bag about whether or not you think it's because he needs money, whether or not he just loves boxing again, or he's just motivated again, or whatever the reason is. More importantly, he's looking to be active, and he specifically has spoken about Jaron Boots Ennis and Eddie Hearn, asking Eddie Hearn to reach out to him in order to make something happen. Me personally, I think that's a great fight. Is that the next fight for Jaron Boots Ennis? Could it be the next fight for Jaron Boots Ennis? Is this the kind of fight between Jermell Charlo and Jaron Boots Ennis where you just are ready to do a month and a half long camp and just jump into that fight, make it happen? I mean, you do have an active Jermell Charlo. If it's not going to be Jermell Charlo, then who's it going to be next? Does he continue to just take on the next opponents and just focus more on being active and not so concerned about being with a big name? Or does he still focus on that signature fight that gives him the recognition he wants at 154 and get some of his heat off his neck? I personally don't think Boots is moved by the heat per se, by people criticizing him as much, but still, we'll see how that plays out. And we'll talk about that as well. And we'll try to wrap that all up in the show, right? Right? That's a soliloquy. That's the beginning of the show. But before we get right into the show, into the meat of the conversation, of course, I'm going to bring up my guy. You already know how we're going to carry it. Hold on a second. Let me make sure I just do something here. Very important. My guy, Angelo Reyes, in the building. Salute, my guy. Salute, fam. What's good?
Hey, everybody. Definitely a lot of news on your monologue. You covered a lot. You covered a lot of things, and feels like that's why we've been doing the Read the Ring series, right? Because some kind of news always seems to come up. And a new one, I'm sure, will come up, at least one, maybe two this week of the Read the Ring.
Before we finish this show.
Maybe. But what I was going to say is, on your monologue, sir, you did not include that one of the bigger news is on the global stage is there's this war, right, between what's going on with Turkey, what's going on with Queensberry. We did a Read the
Right.
Ring on our last segment about this exact thing, and it looks like because TKO is not a promotional company, the promoter on hand for the Tyson Fury versus Makhmudov event of Netflix across the ocean, across the Atlantic, is it is being obviously promoted by Zupa Boxing to push out there. But I'm not quite sure if Zupa Boxing has their all the way license in the UK yet. So Ben Shalom is in the picture. And a lot of Ben Shalom's fighters filled out that undercard. If you guys want to take a look at the Ring Magazine Instagram, they have the entire card, and it's a mix of Zufa fighters and Ben Shalom's group, which is called Boxer fighters, all fighting each other. So there's definitely a war going on that side too, and it'll be interesting how this all plays out.
You know what's interesting about this whole entire Saudi thing right now is I'm really looking and I'm saying to myself, we obviously know there's a conflict going on in the Middle East right now, huge, in which is involving Saudi to a high level right now, where Saudi's actually involved.
Well, they got attacked, bro. I mean, they shot up our U.S. embassy over there in Riyadh, so they're definitely,
So that being said, I wonder how that ricochets through or vibrates through and affects their campaign right now on these events. And how open they are. How's that affected the finances? Are they as motivated, invested in this full through as they were before? Does that change things? Because right now they're not pushing out a lot of oil. Everything's on freeze really until they can kind of figure everything out. We've seen prices, and I don't want to make this a news show political, but just to say that prices have rise across the board. What I'm saying? You're going to start seeing it hit you in the fuel stations and everything on, day to day. Things are going to start being affected here. How does that affect their relationship with this boxing game? I think that makes a bit of a difference. May make a difference. I don't know if you thought about it at all. But.
Yeah, no. I mean, look, it's that again. We don't want to make it a political show. It's definitely interesting, but things like this, when it does happen, football still went on, baseball still went on, basketball still went on, right? So Riyadh is all about Project 2030. They have a ton of things that they put their money into in terms of entertainment. I don't know how close it's getting to essentially like that part of Riyadh, but attacking the U.S. embassy was definitely not the smartest move. So yeah, man. I mean, we're gonna deal with it for sure because they attacked.
Oh yeah. I'm just wondering as far as purses are concerned, as far as fights being made, as far as anything connected with that entity, does that affect that at all? I'm just specifically on the negotiation level when you're talking about the Devin Haney and the Ryan Garcia, or you're talking about any of these Zufa, signing newer fighters, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that we see everything kind of like change up a little bit, negative, positive, or anything in between. I don't know.
I'm sure we'll see some sort of effect. I don't know what it is. And really, we're kind of putting the cart before the horse. You and I were having our private conversation about this, and I'm not sold that Turkey's trying to buy a I actually don't know which fight Turkey wants for Devin Haney.
Right.
Because Devin Haney's the one that's been like going around and please, somebody fight me, please. Right. But at the end of the day, and again, this is not me being insulting to Devin Haney. This is me just showing the reality that if Eddie Hearn wants to really hardcore exercise hey man, Shakram Gisav's been waiting for almost 3 years to get a title shot. Dan Rafael already put out that the WBA is going to do a purse bid for Shakram Gisav versus Rolly Romero. So I don't know how Bill Haney's talking to Louis DeCubas and exactly for what. Is Rolly dropping the WBA? Is that what you guys are trying to do? Has it gotten so desperate now that
the reality is that Rolly's team is the one who's reached out, right? They're the ones who are hitting the offer. They're the ones who are trying to make the fight happen. So whatever's happening over there, this is not Bill pushing for the fight. As far as most people understood, and I'm sure Bill felt the same way, is that this fight wasn't even on the radar because Rolly wasn't interested in making the fight. But something has changed the language over at the PBC side to where now they're reaching out to make this fight. Now, without a doubt, you can see the writing on the wall as far as what would motivate them to do that, which would be getting out of a GSR fight that makes no money, but brings all kinds of risk because of the level of competitor GSR is. But I think what you're speaking to a little bit more is the WBA's role in this and whether or not their purse bid that they put out there over, trumps any type of ability that the PBC has to negotiate something like this. Are they going to be able to, is it going to include some step aside money, or does the old saying hold true that unifications trump mandatories? Will that hold true in this conversation? I would say that on their side, it seems like they believe so, at least right now, to be even confident to even push this as a potential option for them.
Right. No, the hard part of it is, and again, man, it's not like you and I are sitting there reading the bylaws of it all, but from what I understood, Chakram was already asked or there was a deal made by the WBA when Boots Ennis was fighting Emmanuel Stanionis. So he was supposed to fight Emmanuel Stanionis, does a step aside already. So that's already, one right there, right? When Rolly won the belt, it didn't really matter, but there was maybe a window that Rolly could have done a possible voluntary, which he didn't exercise because that was last May, right? So I don't know, I don't think Rolly gets a voluntary. I think this is like the Agit Kabayel scenario, right? It's like,
that wouldn't be a voluntary; it'd be a unification.
And again, we don't know what the bylaws is, but I'm pretty hard pressed to say that if Dan Rayfield is reporting that on Sunday he was on the phone with the WBA, who told him that they're doing a purse bid for Chakram versus Rolly, that's what's happening. I honestly can't see Eddie backing away for any weird reason.
I would say that it's happening, but I would say that that's just reporting where, for example, I would say the WBA would be well within their right to move forward without any real written confirmation as to what they plan on doing, right? So if this is a conversation happening between Rolly's team and Devin's team and they haven't involved the WBA in it yet, as far as the WBA is concerned, they can do business as usual. They can move forward as usual. I'm like, well, look, I don't know nothing about that, but this is what we're doing because they have a job to keep their belt in a certain kind of rotation as far as activity is concerned, so they can make money. So they can say, listen, Rolly Romero, Chakram Giasov, active purse bid being ordered, right? Maybe this is even to add fire to Rolly's team to get them into the loop, right? Like, I'm hearing things happening out there. You're not putting me in the loop. So here it is. I'm going to initiate something that's going to activate you guys to have to reach out and communicate and let us know what's going on. I believe the WBA would not pass up an opportunity to be part of a purse between Rolly Romero and Devin Haney. So if that did come up, they're going to be interested in that, in my opinion. They're going to say, oh, okay. Oh, so you guys are trying to unify. Well, that's a lot more money. That's a big headline pay-per-view, maybe even some turkey money involved in it. We don't know. But as a sanctioning body who's here and, wanting to make money, there's no doubt about it that we wouldn't turn our nose up at this fight and order no matter what, Chakram Giasov, a fight where the person is going to be abysmal to what they can make. So I don't think the WBA putting out that statement is a direct shot at or gets necessarily in the way of Rolly Romero and Devin Haney putting a fight together. I think it's just a matter of real-time negotiations and real-time offers being put out there money-wise on the table. And I think we can easily see that switch around just like this. And just like that, I can see that switch around.
That's the crazy thing and why the Zuffa boxing campaign in 2026 has been, are you guys tired of this BS? Are you tired of all of this BS? Because do you just not want to be confused? If Devin Haney's the best, then he's the best. And everybody should be lined up behind him accordingly. There shouldn't be this weird,
it is what it is, right? Like Reds, it is what it is, right? Like when it comes to that argument, we're there, right? And that's what this that's what Zuffa's trying to show
Right.
and prove that they
Yeah,
have a better way.
hey, Bill, let me tell you, if he was the Zuffa champion, we wouldn't even have this conversation. Right?
Well, but at the
He
same
would be
time,
fighting the number 2 guy already, and if that's Ryan, then the fight would be made. So,
right. But at the same time, there's freedoms and there's negotiation leverage and ability to make a lot more money in the traditional sense of how this works. This lawless land leaves room for that the top 1 to 3% of this space will always push for this space to be where it's at, because although it's difficult at times to put together fights, when you finally put them together, you get generational wealth. You know what I'm saying? When this is all said and done, Devin.
Although, would you say that Conor Benn just got generational wealth and he's not doing any belts?
Right, but that's it. That's the beginning of I don't think that's a very unique situation that I haven't seen happen like that all the time. You know what I mean? Like, most people are very shocked and most people feel like Conor's being overpaid. So,
well, I mean, most people feel that a lot of the Zuffa fighters are being overpaid. We've already heard stories that Rob Merriweather in a 6-rounder got paid more money or comparable money than Diego Pacheco, who just fought a interim title 12-rounder against Kevin Lele Sajo. You know what I mean? So sure. But you and I always care about what the fighters are going to make the most. So my then question to you is Rolly Romero the money that Haney can make the most? Because you and I both know the money that Haney can make the most would be if a Ryan Garcia fight can happen.
facts.
To which going in a full circle, I haven't really heard Turkey say, I want to make that fight happen. And maybe it's because they're busy. I don't know. I'm just
I haven't
saying
heard Turkey say too much of anything.
Right.
To be
So
honest
that's
with
why
you, this whole
if
year.
this Rolly thing is coming from the PBC, is the PBC with their pay-per-view model going to be able to generate more money for Devin Haney being the quote-unquote A-side of a Rolly fight versus just a straight-up purse bid for Rolly? Rolly makes, I don't know how the purse bid works for the WBA, but let's just say he gets 70%. It's a 70-30 cut. And if Eddie's able to get more investors on the Matchroom side to pay Rolly more money, does Rolly really care that he's going to end up losing the belt to Devin Haney? Or would Rolly rather get the most money he can before he actually loses his belt? Because at the end of the day, man, I hate to do this, Clay, but you know this is the Mario Barrios scenario again. The minute Mario Barrios lost to Ryan Garcia, now the worst of the 147 is Rolly. That's why everybody wants to fight Rolly, or whether it's Haney or Chakram. I mean, come on, man. I'm not trying to be mean to Rolly, but I can't see a world where Chakram doesn't beat Rolly Romero, and that messes up the apple cart for Devin.
Right. I think that Rolly's definitely aiming for a Devin Haney fight because of the money. He doesn't want to fight a Chakram Giasov and deal with that. He doesn't want to deal with a purse bid and walk away with 1.5 million, maybe even $2 million, and then take a loss when he could fight Devin Haney and make, north of, 5 million. You know what I mean? To be part of a fight like that. And that's what's made this interesting for him to try to make this happen. As far as the Ryan Garcia situation is concerned, Ryan is made it clear that he has options, but at the same exact time, like I said, I'm wondering what kind of money is on the table, because if the money was really on the table, I don't think there'd be any discussion or any entertainment about a Rolly fight. I don't think Devin would even entertain it. I think the idea that Devin Haney's even entertaining it, so like he said in his text message, let's see if we can make this happen. Hopefully we can make it happen, inshallah. You know what I mean? What I heard in there is, I don't got nothing on the table, bro. So yeah, man, if that could be the next fight and that could be the money, let's make it happen, because Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney are talking. They're assuming there's a lot of money on the table because they know that they have the interests of Saudi in putting that money together. But if they're not getting any talk back, if they're not hearing anything back from a Turkey right now, they know they have nothing. And if they have nothing, are they willing to fight just to fight? I don't think so. I think they want to fight with purpose. So, right now, the way Ryan Garcia has been moving since that fight, it's almost like there's been some sort of an offer to do the Shakur fight. Like, that is a fight that was on the table. He was very excited, even willing to go down to 140. Like, I want that fight next. That he was talking with the energy of like, yeah, the money's good. And both him and Shakur's been kind of talking like that. Even Shakur's been like, yeah, man, Ryan, that's a great fight. But not the same energy as much for the Devin Haney fight. more like if that's what is on the table for the money, I'm willing to do that, but no confirmation. And like I said, you add the cherry on top with Devin Haney entertaining a fight with Rolly Romero. I don't see a game or space where Devin Haney's entertaining that fight unless he has nothing else on to do. Am I crazy?
Yeah, no. Everything that you're saying is absolutely facts. And yeah, man. I mean, Ryan's on a effing surfboard, bro. Holding his belt, and he's playing golf, talking about Shakur having doo-doo in his underwear.
He's having a good time. He's made himself some good money.
Yeah,
and he sees the future's bright. He's like, yo, bro, I got whatever it is I'm gonna do next. It's about to be great. So I don't even care.
And honestly, when we've had this conversation before, if things were more clean and we knew what was what, it's more conducive for Ryan to move down to 140, fight Shakur in a fight that he'll probably lose. I mean, I don't think either you and me are picking Shakur on a fight like that. So, but then when he loses it, he doesn't lose his 147 belt anyway. So that means that the Haney fight could be on a shelf. The Haney fight will always, he even said that. He even said on the press conference of his fight week, the Haney fight will always be there. I'm not worried about it. So there's not a lot of leverage for Devin, really, other than for Devin to say, fine, man, I'll take 30% of the money. You get 70% of the money. I just want to get my lick back. That's the only way that leverage could be put into Ryan's side.
Yeah, I think that's definitely part of it too, as well. What you're saying as far as that leverage, I don't think it's an A side, B side thing all the way, but I am starting to believe that it is a little bit of that hanging over this fight, to where Ryan is basically saying, if you make it sweet for me, I can change some things around and do you a favor. But in reality, we can do this later. I can go get some money right now. Can you go get some money right now? If you can't do that. And I think Devin's trying to, Devin is open to a Rolly Romero fight and whatever else is out there, because he doesn't want to look like, he's kowtowing to Ryan Garcia's brand.
Right.
I don't know. It's a lot, but I'm telling you, I've got this funny feeling that this whole Middle East tension thing right there is kind of hanging over.
You're probably right.
That Ryan Garcia Devin Haney fight. I feel like it's hanging.
I mean,
over.
you're probably right, but then why wouldn't it be hanging over this Ryan Garcia Shakur fight?
I don't know. I don't know if it's not. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if it's not.
I just feel like definitely Ryan is chilling. He's not worried, and Shakur doesn't seem worried either.
Right.
So I feel like both of those guys kind of have an inkling of who their next fight is going to be, so they're not really that worried. Right.
I agree.
Which then makes you, I wonder, Haney's the one that's been on a vote for me campaign since the Ryan fight. He's been the vote for Haney, right? Campaign, right? So hopefully he gets the Rolly fight, which again, man, I don't know if boxing politics will get in the way of him against Rolly. And I mean, are you really here's my last question to you, bro, about this whole thing. Because I know we have like the boots thing to talk about and everything else, but are you that excited if Devin Haney has to fight Rolly Romero in a unification, but you're paying $80 to Amazon Prime to do it? Are you excited about that fight, Clay, versus Haney versus Conor Ben, Haney versus, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many other names that Haney could fight that he would beat that would be more exciting. I would be more excited, honestly, for Haney versus Stanionis for the Ring Magazine title. I'm more excited about that because that would be a legit Ring Magazine belt championship. That's the number 3 against the number 1. And he already beat number 2. So I'm more excited about that fight. If Bill had the money to be able to if DHP had the money to put that together, I'm more excited about him fighting Stanionis and beating Stanionis to become the Ring Magazine champ. But what do you think? Yeah, then because what the question I'm asking you is, you're going to pay $80 on PBC to watch Rolly Romero versus Devin Haney on a unification. Currently, Rolly finally got put up, I think, at number 6, right? So that's still not technically really for the Ring Magazine title if we're following the rules. Turkey can do whatever the hell that he wants, but according to the rules, right, it's only in special scenarios can you go from number 1 through number 5 to fight for it to become the Ring Magazine championship. It doesn't necessarily, because there's plenty of title fights we've now seen, including Navaratte's, in where He has both the belts. How come he's not the Ring Magazine champ? He's not the Ring Magazine champ because that wasn't number 1 versus number 2. Or in special cases, number 1 versus 2, 3, 4, or 5, right? So him fighting Rolly doesn't necessarily give Haney the Ring Magazine title, which is why my pushback to it is, if DHP had the money, I'd rather see him beat up Stanionis, which is a better fight for him, by the way. That's tailor-made for what Haney does. Haney wins. He's the Ring Magazine champion. Now he's exactly what you and I have been saying this entire time in this channel. Devin Haney's the best 147-pound champion in the world, and no one can take it away from him. Ryan can go screw himself because he doesn't have the Ring Magazine title anyways. And now DHP could go, maybe we'll move up to 54 and fight for whoever the Ring Magazine champion is there. You know what I mean? Like I just feel like leverage-wise, if you're trying to go resume, Devin Haney has more leverage if there was money that can be put into him fighting Stanionis. But me personally, I'm not that excited about Devin Haney versus Rolly Romero. I'm certainly not excited about paying $80 for that. Are you?
Right. I mean, listen, I'm not interested in paying $80 for too much of anything in boxing right now, as far as pay-per-views is concerned. I'm not really trying to go back to that for myself, but I don't have to pay $80 and I don't have to watch it. And that's not going to move the needle one way or the other. I do think that the bigger fight is Rolly Romero, without a doubt. The bigger fight is Rolly Romero. He's the one who beat Ryan Garcia. They have that common denominator between them. And bottom line is Rolly Romero is sitting on a WBA title, which helps Devin Haney in the traditional sense of unifying the division. Being a unified champion gives him the leverage to, in the division. He doesn't really need to prove he's the best, but Devin Haney's the type of person who needs to get his accolades up. That's to leverage fights happening, because fighters, they calling him Debo Dev. The idea behind him being Debo Dev is that nobody wants to fight him. And I think that's a fair statement. Maybe not necessarily because he's just going to knock everybody out, but I just think that for some reason or another, whether it's they think they're going to lose or whether they think they're going to be part of a boring fight, that they have a hard time. The big names have a hard time pulling the trigger, getting inside the ring with Devin Haney. It's been like this for the lion's share of his career. He's been dealing with this. So Rolly would be the fight that I think the fans want to see. I think the fans would would gather behind that. The PBC has a cult following of people who would just always pay that pay-per-view and watch them off the strength of the PBC. You put a fight like that on the headline, I think it does decent. I'm not going to lie to you. I think it does decent. Does it do decent with me? I'm probably going to find another way, around that. I'm probably not going to do that. I'm not going to lie to you, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I'm not moving the needle. I'm not the guy moving the needle. I think the general status is people are looking at it like, yeah, we would do a Rolly Romero fight. I think people are seeing it that way, for the most part. I don't know if the chat want to put in there what they'd rather see. Hit a 1 if you'd rather see Rolly Romero and Devin Haney, or hit a 2 if you'd rather see Stanionis and Devin Haney. I think that the chat's going to be leaning in a certain direction. Let me read this off my screen real quick. BZ Knows 7010 says, next should be Devin, Rolly, and Ryan Shakur. Dev unifies, beats the guy that beats Ryan, which makes a match up bigger. If Ryan beats Shakur, then Dev Ryan becomes the biggest fight in boxing. Right. I think, let me tell you something about like planning fights out. I think Times Square taught the boxing space something, and hopefully taught the promoter something, that these plans, you guys have heard the saying. I'm sure your grandmother has said it. Your mother has said it to you. You want to make God laugh, do what? Make plans, right? That if you want to make God laugh, right? For me, if that Ryan Devin Haney fight is on the table, do it now. Don't do no tune-ups. Don't do no other fights. Don't plan on making it bigger by adding belts to it. Don't do none of that. If you have that fight on the table, you do that fight right now. You don't waste another moment. You get right to it, because you too many outside factors are there that can affect it, from just regular injuries to losses, all kind of things, right? So, I mean, it is what it is when it comes to that conversation. I'm going to be interested in seeing how this plays out just off this. Like I said, I'll bring it up again. That Middle East situation, for me, puts a little bit of shade over these big ticket fights, right? Zuffa will still be able to operate inside of the parameter of Zuffa. They have a budget, $100 million for the year. They'll be able to put things together. Whatever Matchroom has and whatever they want to do, I think this helps these other promotional companies get an opportunity potentially to put their best foot forward and put together the biggest fights they can. And if this is a true war, a fight going on between what Saudi is putting together and Zuffa is putting together and everybody else, there seems like there's going to be an opportunity coming up in the coming months for those other traditional space promoters to do something special and make an argument. You know what I'm saying? For, we don't need to change boxing, maybe. The traditional way of boxing works. If you guys can show some willingness to make the sacrifices necessary to be made to make the biggest fights, you make an argument that maybe boxing doesn't need to change as aggressively as it looks like it does when we look at this next thing I'm about to segue into, things like this happening as far as Virgil Ortiz Jr. and Golden Boy Promotions, where we're looking at a promotional company legitimately get in front of one of the biggest fights that could be made. And it seems like he's doing it outside of the realm of the fighters who want to make the fight happen publicly. When you have your fighter publicly outing you and trying to get from underneath your promotional banner to make a fight that everybody wants to see, it becomes glaringly obvious who's getting in the way of this fight happening. And that's the argument. That's what it's all about when it comes down to the traditional space of boxing, that lawless mentality that these promoters are going to get in the way of these fights because they don't see a profit big enough for themselves. Because I'm sure Virgil's like, just like Errol Spence was, Virgil's probably like 50-50. Let's do it. I don't care. What are we doing here? Let's do a 50-50 split. Eddie said he's willing to do it. I'm willing to do it. And let's make the fight happen because that's the most important thing here. But what is it?
Yeah, no, I mean, the sad thing about all of this is from what I read, because it's all here public in Las Vegas, right? This thing can drag all the way till September before they get the first resolution out. So now you're going to have a 27-year-old Virgil Ortiz turn 28, and he might not even still know when he can fight. So what? He's going to be shelved for almost 2 years because of something stupid? And I guess the only work around this is if Virgil and Oscar can agree to Oscar being his representative, then Oscar can make a deal with Eddie to put a fight together. I think that ship y'all sailed because Eddie, if you've listened to all his interviews within the last 24 to 48 hours, has already talked about how there is a plan in place where, he was just with Carl Moretti, who's the vice president, but really the guy running Top Rank. With the Sugar Nunez versus Navarrete fight, they were literally like side by side. So there's a plan in place for him to actually do a fight with Xander. I don't think Xander's scared of Boots. I don't think Boots is scared of Xander. And if we're talking about a super fight, right? Like a super fight scenario, that's one of them, right? And the reason why I throw this out at you, Claymore, is that there is the growing word that ESPN supposedly wants to get involved with Top Rank again, because the two executives that they were having a problem with are now with Paramount, right? So with that said, what if the first fight on ESPN is Boots Ennis versus Xander Zayas, and the co-main event is Emiliano Vargas, the other Super Bowl guy, versus whoever the hell Matchroom wants to match him up with, right? That is attractive for ESPN to get involved into. Like, oh, that's our first fight? So that's a very real possibility that we can see Boots Ennis versus Xander Zayas. And with the whole rematch clauses and everything else on it too, right? Secondly, let's not forget that Eddie Hearn, who has Boots Ennis, also happens to have the IBF belt in Josh Kelly. And what Josh Kelly is interested in is making the absolute most money. Josh Kelly is going to be a draw, I guess, whoever he fights in the UK. But he would make the most money and it would sell the most tickets if it happens to be against Boots Ennis. So Matchroom has 2 ways to set up a fight for Boots. Actually, 3 ways. I'm sorry, Clay, because the third way is the one you hate. He's going to end up fighting the So Salute or
I think activity is Boots' main thing right now. Boots, I just saw a recent interview with Boots did with YSM, and he's basically, he's accepted the fact you're damned if you do, if you're damned if you don't with these fans. Right. So he's not moving to the beat of that drum, right? But still, I also think that he understands at this point in his career, 32, whatever the number is, professional fights into his career,
Yeah.
that he wants a signature fight at this point.
Right.
He knows it's about having a signature fight.
Right.
As far as Virgil, I'm going to start. Let me just dial back a second. Go Virgil and Oscar. The solution may have to be some sort of understanding that Oscar is going to be operating in the capacity of as a promoter for him, and that Oscar gets maybe some, because they're going to be in an arbitration, which is basically they're going to open up the contract, they're going to read the verbiage, they're going to see exactly where Rick Meridian and his lawyers seem to believe that Oscar has moved away from the contract and made it a breach. And, you know, Oscar's team is going to do the opposite, showing the documentation through the verbiage on the contract that says, no, actually, we've been doing everything we're supposed to do. We're actually in compliance and you guys aren't going anywhere. That being said, there's going to be a middle ground that has to be taken. The activity of Virgil Ortiz Jr. is going to be part of that conversation, because as far as the leverage is concerned, because Virgil has got to be wanting to be active right now. He's built up so much momentum behind himself. He's gotten such a name going. To just take all of that momentum, sit it on a shelf, and think you're going to come back in a year and a half later and be that same fighter with that same influence would make you delusional. He's going to want to do that. Oscar rubs me as somebody who doesn't care one way or another, who has no problem sitting you on the shelf.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And saying, listen, we'll tie you up. I don't care. Bottom line is I'm going to get what I have to get. I'm wondering if there can be an agreement or an understanding of maybe either a buyout number, a number that makes sense, that allows Oscar to let Virgil move forward, or if Oscar can offer some sort of agreement through contractual agreement, guaranteeing Virgil certain say in his career and making these fights happen, and making it to where we don't have to revisit the situation again, to where I'm campaigning for a fight and you're literally campaigning on the other side against that fight. You know what I'm saying? As my promoter, because there's got to be some sort of violation there, right? Some sort of violation that you could, in your contract that you have with me, be well within your right to shoot down my fights as I'm campaigning, trying to make fights. Like, how are you on your clapback Thursdays? How are you in your clapback Thursdays cutting down the value of a fight that I'm currently campaigning for, telling the people that there are better fights to be made, Errol Spence in Dallas Cowboys Stadium or Sebastian Fundora? How is that? How are you representing me in a positive? How's that a positive for me as a fighter? You shouldn't have that freedom to be able to do that. So I don't know. It just seems like I understand the argument from Virgil's side. Oscar's side, I don't understand the argument, but I do understand that he has power, that those contracts are made to protect promoters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they're not made for Virgil to come up over a promoter, they're made for a promoter to come up over Virgil. So this sheds light on the whole entire idea of the relationship, that dynamic between a promoter and a fighter. And in some ways, just like Mauricio Suleiman throws shots at the traditional space of boxing as it is, and kind of points towards this new way of doing things that Zuf was presenting, to where these fighters end up in these situations where he's like, dog, I can't move. I can't do anything for myself because this promoter that I've hired to represent me is cutting down my opportunities.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I think it's Virgil. I feel bad for Virgil, because I feel like he's wasting his youth on technical arguments to, just to make his life better, right? Like, which I don't disagree with Rick Meridian, his manager, trying to fight for what's going to be best for him. But look, man, boxing moves on with or without you. And the fact of the matter is, Virgil, I don't know what you want to do. What I will say is that Boots has plenty of options, Clay. He's with Matchroom. He has tons of options, right? For everybody who may not think that he doesn't, let's not forget Madrimov just fought. Very easy for Eddie to say, well, Madrimov's available. Brandon Adams is fighting Aguiarco. Sebastian Fundora is fighting Thurman. Like, everybody is moving in this division. So he's not going to not allow Boots to have a fight by, it's already March, so I can't say April. Maybe last week of April. definitely May though. I can't see Boots not fighting past May. You know what I mean? Like he has to fight by May just to get something going, unless it's
Yeah.
a huge super fight of some sort. So
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you on that. I think he's looking to be active. And when we're talking about opponents, you know, the elephant in the room with that conversation is Jermell Charlo, a
Right.
fighter who
That
is
would be
considered, right? He's the last guy, right? He's the last guy, 154. He's the man that you would fall underneath that beat the man to beat the man situation, right?
I could argue that makes Boots number one.
Right. So, and he's shown interest, and obviously, however they want to paint it, Jermell Charlo, for whatever his motivational reasons are, wants a fight, and he's mentioned
Right.
Boots directly. How do you feel about Eddie Hearn in this situation? Do you think Eddie Hearn should reach out to Jermell? Like this would be
Absolutely
what he's looking at. Like make this happen.
100%. I would absolutely love it. I
Right.
mean, why wouldn't we, right? Like if you are okay, you know, and Boots, when you're listening to the show, again, remember that we're your biggest fans here, right? We absolutely want to see you be known as the Roy Jones of this generation. Unfortunately, the needle moves the way it moves, and you're not one of the biggest mainstream boxing stars. You're just not, right? You're more of the hardcore favorite, like the people who really watch it know you're the truth. So having said that, Charlo had his moment when the whole Fox PBC thing was happening. So I could argue to say, and I hate even saying this out loud, but I'm just gonna say it, Clay, that Charlo might actually be more known to mainstream, you know, sports fans, because that name was floating around the space as the undisputed lineal champion for not you know long not it wasn't that long ago that was him, right? And his last fight was that huge fight with Canelo in 2023. So again, man, this is I say in terms of popularity, I could argue that we're looking at a 50-50. If this ends up being a matchroom event because Eddie could put together the money along with the zone to pay it, that's a pretty good price to pay the $45 a month for, Clay. I'm in. I like it. I like it because now I'm going to argue that, well, Boots Ennis beat the man. Right. And this guy was the man who beat the man who beat the man. So I don't care about any of you. In fact, the last time I checked, the only reason why you have a belt, Fendura, and Tim Zoo had a belt, and this person had a belt, and that person had a belt is because Charlo left. So he never lost in the ring. So somebody needed to beat the man. If it's okay for Floyd Mayweather to come back, and it's been 11 years, then why isn't it okay for Charlo to come back and put his rightful place? And on Charlo's side, by the way, Clay, if Charlo's going to take this fight, I don't think he's going to have it with the attitude of, I'm just going to be here to do a favor for my brother last minute. I think he's going to try to beat Boots. I think he's going to try to prove to himself that he's still the man. And if he beats Boots, he's the man. If he beats Boots Ennis, if Charlo beats Boots Ennis, he's the man, bro. I'm back on the Charlo train if he beats Boots Ennis.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I'm wondering if that's what Eddie and them are thinking over there. As far as that Josh Kelly Xander Zayas situation is concerned, yeah, Eddie has to maneuver that very carefully because he has an obligation to represent Josh Kelly's best interest. And if Josh Kelly is looking to make a unification, that might be his best interest to go for something like that. And, you know, I'm sure the payday will be there as well. But, you know, Jerome Boots Ennis brings nothing to Josh Kelly except for a high risk, maybe a good reward. But does Eddie have that type of leverage with Josh Kelly? He wasn't able to make it happen before. You know what I'm saying? When Josh Kelly and Boots were in negotiation, Kelly didn't go for it before and then make the fight happen. So is he going to be able to do it this time? What's he going to offer Kelly that's going to have him walk away from an opportunity to fight a fight, which, by the way, I think Kelly has every reason to believe he has a good chance of beating Xander. I think he's, you know, why not? I'm a great boxer. I'm an Olympian. I don't know what you guys think I am, but this guy ain't knocking everybody out. I can box. I can outbox a lot of people. Xander
he knocked down Bakram, dude.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Xander is a jit to me. He's a child to me. You know what I mean? Like, respectfully, like, I like him. I see what he's doing, but why you think I don't think I could beat Xander? Are you crazy? And
Right.
you know what I mean? Do I think I could beat Xander easier than I could beat Boots?
Right.
Probably. So that
Right.
comes with a payday. That comes with unification on the back end of a victory. If I'm able to pull that off, I walk away 3-belt unified champion. That gives me all the leverage I need in making a fight. You know, at that point, I could fight a John Boots Ennis and be like, you're coming to England. You're fighting in front of my crowd. This is my show. I'm the unified champion, maybe even a lineal champion at the end of that fight. If not, I can go after Sebastian or
Right.
Keith Thurman if that's the case, right?
Right.
So how does Eddie convince Josh Kelly that that fight is the fight that should be made? Now, and keep this in mind too. We just watched Eddie Hearn make a big mistake this weekend, in my opinion, to a degree. Not a mistake, but let's just say
he was taking his chances, man.
he gambled. He
Okay.
gambled, right? He gambled on Sugar Nunez being able to beat Emmanuel Navarrete and having a unified champion under his belt, right? In his roster. But it went the other way on him. Is there an argument to say that if he would have put that fight together between Sugar Nunez and Raymond Ford, that he would have been able to keep the fight in-house, continue to still have a champion, and then potentially have a champion in Raymond Ford that is way stronger than Nunez and probably would have performed maybe differently against an Emmanuel Navarrete, or made a super fight with a champion in Raymond Ford with a champion like Oshaki Foster and gone for that unification? Does Eddie look at it now and try to make as many of his fights in-house as possible and try to stop all this across the street politics that, in just historically speaking, has been working necessarily in his favor? Right? You can take this all the way back to the 5v5, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that.
All my guys lost. Like,
yeah. Well, but on the flip side, like I said, if this war that we've spoken about on our Read the Ring series is visibly right there, why wouldn't Eddie Hearn, who's with the Zone, that's where he gets the majority of his budget from, not put together something with Carl Moretti and Top Rank? And like I said, man, like if ESPN really is getting involved, you got a much more powerful partner in ABC, Disney, ESPN being back in boxing, right? So Xander Boots is possible, but I understand what you're saying, right? Josh Kelly versus Boots keeps it in house, but this is where I'd say
wins,
yeah,
you have
and
a
if Boots
stronger,
wins,
arguably stronger
sure.
champion.
Sure, but I you know what, Eddie, I'm gonna give you a suggestion, man. Why don't you play? Why don't you do what people do in the roulette table and put your money on a few of these things, right? How about if it's gonna be on the Zone, try to put together the best package for a Kelly versus Xander, because I feel like Kelly's not that worried. His mandatory is going to be the winner of Brandon Adams versus Aguiarco that's happening in a few weeks here in Vegas, right? So I don't think Josh Kelly's like too worried about when am I going to fight again. I'm pretty sure he knows he's going to fight at some point after this whole Adams versus Aguiarco thing works out. But the bigger money for Josh Kelly would be the super fight scenario. So if Xander's willing to accept it, you do how about you do one card on the Zone, a super fight between Xander and Josh Kelly, and then like either 2 weeks before or even on the same card, you put Boots Ennis versus Charlo, right? And the winners all fight each other. That cleans it up. That makes it pretty nice, right? Who's the, you can title that Who is the Best, right?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think that, me personally, I think that the fight to be made, if it's possible, is Jermell for Boots. I think that's the fight. I think that fight is super significant for Boots because I think Eddie Hearn believes that John Boots Ennis is the best 154-pound fighter on the planet. And he sees Terrence Crawford, Roy Jones, Shakur Stevenson. He sees pound for pound conversations. He knows that John Boots Ennis is one of his best fighters, if not the best fighter he has under his roster. He believes in Boots Ennis' ability to beat everybody and anybody. Like everybody else, it could be politics, right? Like with Josh Kelly, I'm gonna represent you. You're a champion, but I don't know if I pick you against Xander. With Conor Ben, you're my guy, but I'm not ready to pick you against Shakur. I just think Shakur's probably going to beat you. He doesn't feel like that with Boots. He feels like, if I put Boots in the ring with somebody, they're going to win. So we can get to the belts. clearly there's a thing going on right now where Xander and Josh Kelly is a fight that's realistically going to be made because of unification. Sebastian Fundora is tied up with Keith Thurman and probably looking to fight Virgil more than he's looking to fight Jaron Ennis.
And if Virgil is tied up, keep in mind, Claymore, that Bakari Samake, who's the WBC #1, he's fighting on April because he's on the co-feature of Okole versus Tony Yoka in France. So even if Virgil doesn't get the fight, there's already going to be a #1 mandatory for Sebastian Fundora to avoid everyone else.
Yeah. You know, so I think Boots' situation is you got to get, and he's a high risk to any of these champions. So they're not gonna fold. I think you have a game right now, an opportunity that didn't necessarily have to be there in a very game Jermell Charlo for whatever his personal reasons are. Very game and very motivated to make a fight with Boots specifically. I think that's what Eddie Hearn should focus his energy. Make that fight happen. Reach out to Jermell or reach out to his representation, see how serious he is, and get that penned out. That shakes up the algorithm, that checks the boxes for Jerron Boots Ennis in his signature fight, and that puts him right there. Who knows? Ring Magazine might acknowledge that and throw him at #1 off the strength of that victory. They might literally just throw him right there because of the strength of what they rank Jermell Charlo in the conversation. Seems like that's a fight to be made.
You know, I don't know if there's ever been a Ring Magazine Emeritus or in recess Ring Magazine champ, but I guess if there was going to be anyone, I wouldn't be mad if they said Charlo's back. You know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say, Clay? Right? Like because Charlo never did lose. He was the man when they didn't even technically strip him.
I think that people would recognize it. Like, I think it's one of those what's understood doesn't have to be said type situations where it's like even though he's probably not, more than likely he's not the Ring Magazine champ. Like, nobody's acknowledging him that way, right? But people are. People like me, for example, who are just gonna keep it 100 and say, ain't none of y'all beat Jermell.
Yeah.
None of you guys beat Jermell. He beat all of you guys that was there to be beat. He collected all the belts, the lineal belt. He avenged any one of his he avenged his draw and he avenged his draw. He's undisputed in the most organic traditional sense of the word in comparison to a lot of other people. He didn't get no belts and no damn emails. He wasn't elevated. He whooped ass. You know what I'm saying? All the way up, became a champion and beat the lineal champion to become the champion. He beat the man to become the man. So now Jaron Ennis, somebody who a lot of people on the eye test, shout out to my brother Blue Blood who calls him the Phenom, right? We know what we've seen Jaron Ennis, but we can't argue back at the fact that he hasn't been able to collect these signature fights. He hasn't had one in 32 fights. You have an opportunity to get a name on your record that nobody can dispute. You couldn't get Terrence. You couldn't get Errol, right? You couldn't get none of those names. Jermell, through your lucky star, somebody who needs some money. The PBC happens to be in a position where they haven't been able to give him the biggest opportunities. He's willing to, where I would argue a year and a half, 2 years ago, he wouldn't even look at you. He'd have been like, bro, what have you done for me to be in the ring with? Even though we would have been like, what are you talking about? That's booze. It don't matter. He's going to use that excuse because you are a high risk. But he's available right now. You got to take it. You got to take it now, especially with this Virgil situation turning out the way that it did.
And what about this, Clay? What if there is a scenario in where PBC is clearly still in the picture? Because we've talked about this, how David Benavidez is like holding steady, man, and his loyalty to PBC, which is why the May 2nd card that's going heads up against Junto Nakatani versus Inoue, in a sense, right? Maybe time wise it's not going heads up, but in a way, advertising wise, it kind of is. You got David Benavidez fighting Gilberto Ramirez here in Las Vegas, Cinco de Mayo weekend, May 2nd. What if the co-feature to that is Charlo versus Boots? And PBC can make Charlo whole so that Eddie doesn't have to carry all the weight of the budget. And he could be like, Charlo, you can still get the money you want because I'll pay for part of your salary and PBC will pay for part of your salary. I'm going to take care of all of Boots' salary, right? and we can somehow figure this out. So now this gets kind of interesting because does this become a PVC fight on Amazon? Or could that somehow go into the DAZN budget, who is having a war with everybody else too, man? You know, maybe
Yeah.
DAZN comes
I think,
correct.
I mean, and it's funny you're bringing that up, and I think that segues into something else, another part of this conversation, because like I said, right now with what's happening in Middle East, Saudi, I'm watching them closely, and I want to see how they deal with this as far as in the boxing space. I want to see how freely they're willing to spend their money as far as the millions and millions of dollars that we're used to seeing them spend, where they are on that conversation. The PBC literally is making some moves right now, right? Or potentially trying to see if they can. They're positioning themselves accordingly. If you pay attention, the Rolly Romero trying to go with the Devin Haney situation, the David Benavidez and Zerto Ramirez situation, even if they were able to put something together with the Jamel Charlo and the Jerome Boots Ennis situation. Obviously we know about Fundora and Keith Thurman, which is a card I'm not too fond of, but still activity coming from the PBC in 2026, and an opportunity to not have to be in bidding wars with Saudi, to not have to have their fighters being like they want these. If the fighters start to realize like the Saudi money isn't there right now like it was before, they'll go back home. They'll go back to what they know. And it's up, like I said earlier in the conversation, it's up to these promoters to show and prove by putting their best foot forward and saying, we're putting together the biggest fights possible. The fights that we couldn't even put together because the fighters we wanted to use are asking for money that we can't even afford. So we just kind of let them go and let them be over there on that side of the conversation. Now you can kind of take advantage of this moment in time. And I'm wondering if the PBC is not ready to take that, if they're not moving forward with that in mind, saying, you know what, let's get it done, bro. Send an offer to Devin. Let's make a big fight. You know what? Let's make it happen. Yo, David, we think we can. And if David doesn't see that, you know what I'm saying? Because after the whole entire Zerto fight, the next fight's going to come up, which is going to be better Bivol. It's going to be that light heavyweight conversation, or a Jai Opetaia fight. Is Saudi going to be the top investors in those fights happening? Or is it going to be an even playing field now to where the PBC can compete now and doesn't have to put their, you know what I'm saying, go up against a giant like Saudi Arabia? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we'll see, man. I just, HLD, I can understand what your point is, right? You know, about boxing space is going to be fine moving forward with or without this war that's happening. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Clay. All I know is for boxing fans, there's so many ways to be able to watch free to access boxing again that everybody gets to win. You already know this Sunday you're going to be calling the fight. I'm going to be there. Zupa Boxing on Sunday, Jai Opetaia, Brandon Glanton, right? There's so many ways. Pro Box is always doing things too. Pro Box is in that picture. So yeah, man, I don't know. I hope for the betterment of PVC trying to figure it out, that they can really put together some good fights and somehow figure out a way not to charge people $80 for it, because that's just not working in 2026, man. I don't know how many pay-per-view buys you'll get for $80.
Not working. It's not working right now, but I'm telling you, I'm just keeping a close eye on it, and I'm just being honest about it, right? That's just who I am. I just got to be honest. When my spider senses are saying, hold on right now, because there's some factors, there's some intangibles in here that I just wonder about, and I'm just waiting to find out how it plays out. By the way, shout out to everybody in the building, man. About 40 people in the building, man. Take a moment, hit the like button. Of course, if you haven't done so, support the channel, support the grind. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, take a moment to go ahead and do that as well, of course.
Check out our I was going to say, for you guys who are on the channel, check out our Read the Ring series and a few of the takes that Claymore's put out. It's on the videos side of it. And yeah, help us always get to like 100 likes, because we're trying to get the channel to be pushed out on different space. Sorry, Clay.
No, definitely. Yeah, man. Very interesting conversation. This whole entire Jerome Boots Ennis, Eddie Hearn, Matchroom, Golden Boy, Devin Haney, all these different things going on right now, because it's the politics of the traditional space that makes these conversations even had to be had. And credit to you as far as the idea of this is what you don't have to deal with on the other side of the conversation as far as Zuffa. This is just the reality of it. I think we're all very used to and understand the dynamics of the politics of this side. We're not new to it. And I don't even want to act like I'm that frustrated about it, right? Because I'm just so used to it. But I do feel like I'm very excited to see if there's something that can be done so that we can see these fights at the right time. You know, Virgil Ortiz and Dramus Ennis, it feels like this was the time for that fight to happen. And you got to ask yourself what this looks like 2 years down the road, a year and a half down the road. What does it look like? Does it even happen at 154? Is this a fight that happens at 160? Things of that nature. And of course, Devin Haney, you know, a fighter who, in my opinion, I've always wanted to see him in the biggest fights, but it's difficult. And it's these politics, right? The Rolly Romero is saying, what does he bring to the table? He's a damn champion. How does unifying not bring enough to the table? And don't tell me the money ain't there, because you know Turkey's involved with it. But no, you're being a company man. I get it. You're representing the interests of your company, and you're playing all these politics. And the sport just suffers when fights fall through over these petty politics. So it is what it is, right?
Well, I mean, and again, this is the whole, as the rebranding of the sport of boxing continues to happen with so many hands in it now. And when I say hands in it, I'm really talking about the major players from Sela and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia pushing out best versus the best since 2023 into Paramount, who's looking like they're going to acquire Warner Brothers. And if they do, then that just makes Zuffa boxing even stronger.
Well, I asked myself if Paramount's in the position to continue to do that way. I'm telling you, a lot of things are affected with this, with this this.
Oh, we're gonna see. I mean, again, I don't know that side of it, Clay. I can only talk boxing.
I don't know that side of it, but I'm not gonna turn my spider senses are going to go off, because the reason they're going to go off is because Saudi is now involved in this war on a financial level. They're activating military. They're getting involved on a military level. They're not just victims getting bombed on. They're like in the war right now. So that takes financing. That's a lot of money being allocated towards that to keep that going. Now, if that goes on for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, okay, we're good. But if this ends up being a 3 to 6 month campaign, how does that look? You know what I'm saying? And yeah, shout out to my brother HLD, who says they make more money because they're going to raise the prices. Well, look, they're going to raise the prices, but this is about their ability to move oil out of Saudi Arabia across the world, because the way Iran is doing it, they're cutting off the lanes. It's not about ability to produce oil. It's about moving it. They're shutting down these ports and they're attacking all these pipelines, and it's going to be difficult to move barrels like it was before. So yes, they're going to charge more money for sure, because that's how we work. If it's harder for me, it's going to be harder for you. But does that mean that they're going to continue to allocate money into boxing the way they were before? Is boxing really as important as other things right now? I don't know. We'll see, right? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
HLD, man. Unfortunately, bro, maybe you probably know more about it than I do. But I can talk about boxing because I am paying attention to everything that's going on in boxing. And what I was going to say is, I find it still interesting that here we are in 2026. We're still only in February when the fight last weekend happened. And we literally just saw one of the best fights. It's probably going to get a fight of the year type of award in Nunes versus Navarrete. Is a unification fight. Both of these guys are at the peak of their career, and yet there wasn't as much buzz about that fight as there was about Ryan Garcia versus Mario Barrios, or Shakur versus Tio. And I'm hoping that the space figures out a way to centralize the news cycles in terms of the sports world, so that people would know who Emmanuel Navarrete is, and they would know who Sugar Nunes is. Because I'm going to tell you something right now, man. The fact that Navarrete is not on the pound for pound list yet, I'm shocked. After seeing that performance, if you look at his track record and you look at all the divisions that he's already won in and how long he's defended or how long he's fought in championship fights, I can make an argument to say that maybe he should be, after beating Sugar Nunez, I can make an argument to say that maybe he should push out Oscar Collazo and put himself in there, but he's definitely in that top range. I think that Navarrete is he's scary, man. He's scary. And
No, he
really,
definitely is a scary fighter. But I'm not all the way on board. I'm not on board with the pound for pound.
Well, here you go then. Let me get you on board, sir. Let me get you on board. If Navarrete fought O'Shaquie Foster right now, would you, because before the way we were talking is O'Shaquie Foster beats everyone except maybe Raymond Ford. But after that performance, I'm a lot closer to 50-50. How much closer did you get to 50-50 after
50-50.
the Navarrete?
I was always 50-50 though. I favored O'Shaquie Foster, but I was always 50-50 in the background. I always knew that was going to be the hardest fight for O'Shaquie Foster at 130 was going to be Emmanuel Navarrete, even over Raymond Ford. I knew that Navarrete was just going to present that pressure. That's just something different. But I did pick O'Shaquie to win the fight. And, based off of O'Shaquie Foster's last performance against Stephen Fulton, I still kind of have him right there. I have them neck and neck, to be honest with you. If I leverage Emmanuel Navarrete in any one specific space is off the unification that he's the unified champion and O'Shaquie isn't. But I don't know, pound for pound talk, I'm not there yet, but I can celebrate Emmanuel Navarrete in many other ways because he impressed me mentally on that evening's approach to the fight, because I knew he could win the fight without a doubt. That was a 50-50 fight. I was picking Sugar Nunez to win that fight going into it, but I think it's the way Emmanuel Navarrete performed that night that made the biggest difference for me. It was what he did. It was how he selected his shots. It was that lead hand. It was his patience. It was his ability to control that range, not jump in and allow Sugar Nunez to smother the work. I know Nunez was looking for opportunities to tie him up and try to slow him down. He wasn't able to do that. Navarrete showed me he got a lot of IQ and a lot of pedigree that I underestimated him on. I kind of put him in the same category at one point in time as an Isak Pitbull Cruz, and now I feel stupid for doing that, right?
Yeah, he's way better of a boxer, man.
Way better of a boxer than Isak Pitbull Cruz, and I think that is something to be talked about as far as 130-pound division politics are concerned. That being said, though, what do you think makes the most sense for Emmanuel Navarrete moving forward?
I mean, he's a top-ranked fighter. Top rank keeps the money, right? So O'Shaquie Foster versus Navarrete on ESPN sounds pretty good to me, Clay. I mean, you know what I mean, right? The two best 130-pound fighters in the world being promoted by the same exact promotional
number one, number
company.
two.
Yeah. It's for the Ring Magazine belt. Like that would be the fight. Although I didn't really hear O'Shaquie say that. I didn't even really hear him say, I want to fight Raymond Ford. I'm not trying to call him scared, but
he said he would. I listened to it closely.
Okay.
The conversation didn't go the way I thought it was. I was trying to read lips and figure out what was saying because there was no sound here. So, he was basically saying that he plans on beating Ford up and then going up to beat Shakur and things of that nature. To be honest with you, all that talk that they were doing to me makes me feel like they're fighting next. Now, but that being said, about a fight with Navarrete is a huge fight for both of those guys, right? For you're talking about pound for pound conversations about you potentially seeing a Navarrete in a pound for pound. This is a fight that's necessary to make that argument make more sense.
If he beats Shockey, he's in the pound for pound list, bro. It's the
argument is definitely there. The argument is definitely there.
Like, look, guys, like if again, we have these conversations here on the ATP Combat Media channel where we'll talk to people who don't watch it as much as we do. And then they'll say something ridiculous like, well, Inoue's not really that good because he hasn't fought anybody. It's like, do you even watch it? Have you even seen him? Do you even understand the historical implications of what Naoya Inoue has already done and why a lot of us, including me, believe he should really be regarded as pound for pound number one? So when I say I think Navarrete should already be in the pound for pound list, I'm talking about the fact that this guy's already been the world champion at 122 pounds. He's been the world champion at 126 pounds. He's been the world champion at 130 pounds. He tried to do the 135 campaign, which you throw on my face sometimes about the Dennis Barancek fight. But at 130, man. Right now, it's hard for me not to say he's the most dominant. He certainly has fought the harder people than Shockey has. He just, I mean, we could go back and forth on that, but that's why I say it's 50-50. If that version of Navarrete showed up against the version of Shockey Foster that we watched against Stephen Fulton, 50-50. It's really it's a 50-50 fight. Navarrate's style is so weird, right? It's weird. It's like he's long in the arms.
Coach, salute.
Hey, coach, he's long in the arms. He's throwing punches from like weird angles. He's got like rocks for hands, right? You can see like it affects. And now what did he just show us, Clay? He knows how to put his power behind the punches when he's going on his back foot. He knows how to even go back up to the ropes and counter and work the body. Like, he showed a lot of wrinkles to his game. And, you and I, we have these conversations all the time with different fighters. Like, how many different ways can this person fight this person? So how many ways can Shockey Foster beat Navarrete if they fought?
At 130?
At 130 for the unification.
I'm at a place where the only person who can run it with Navarrete right now would be Shockey Foster, or maybe look, I know I'm not here to debate this, but I'm gonna double down.
Okay.
I think Rafael Espinoza and Emmanuel Navarrete is an epic fight. I'm gonna tell you straight up, that's how I feel about it. That's what I think. I think that's an epic fight. But outside of that, outside of Rafael Espinoza coming up to 130 to make that fight happen, even a Raymond Ford right now, I question as to whether or not his experience, if his seasoning is there to be in the ring with Emmanuel Navarrete. He's just very good with the pressure. He's very good at cutting the ring off. And we come to find out another wrinkle to his game, like you highlighted. The man can box. He can control the distance. He has a good jab. You know what I'm saying? He's very aware of getting to that body and the effectiveness, and he's patient. He's patient when he needs to be. But at the same time, we've seen him turn it up when he needs to. That's what we know him to do. So, yeah, man, I don't know what Raymond Ford does with Emmanuel Navarrete. He's a difficult fighter to deal with. I'll give Shockey Foster a 50-50 chance just because being in the ring with a Stephen Fulton, you know what I mean, and dominating him that way, he shows me he can manage. He showed me in that fight with Stephen Fulton, he can manage a fight from round 1 to round 12. He can win rounds. He understands the math.
You're saying Shockey, if he was a quarterback, he's more of a manager, right? He's not going to like run off the sidelines the way Lamar Jackson can do it. He doesn't. So you don't think Shockey has the ability to like all of a sudden hit Navarrete and then knock him down?
He could maybe do that as well. But more importantly, when you say about that manager, let's compare him to a like I say difference between a Mike Vick and
Joe Montana, or we
can do Joe. I like Joe. We can do Joe.
Okay.
Joe
all right.
does whatever he does with the idea of getting the ball up the field.
Right.
So he's good inside the pocket, and if he moves out the pocket, he's still trying to move the ball up the field.
Right.
Whereas, Mike is like quick to be like, I don't see nothing here. I don't see nothing there. I'm running this way. You feel me? He's not prolonging the play. Like, let's say Russell Wilson, right? Russell Wilson is prolonging the play, right? Like, but I'm still my game though is to throw this motherfucking rock.
Right.
Like, I'm throwing this damn thing. I'm not going to the run, even if it looks like I'm going to the run. I'm still gonna let it go because I'm still, as I'm moving, looking and seeing who I can catch. Shockey has shown that he can be very alert and still be a good time clock manager round to round, take rounds and not get caught out of his game. I think that's a big X factor for him, a wild card that he brings into the ring with Navarrete. But what Navarrete showed us is he can manage that clock as well. He can manage it as well. He can get behind that jab. He can be patient. He can put you in a situation to where he can turn the tables on you to where all of a sudden you're having to press him. Right. He's ahead on the clock, and then he gets what he wants anyway. But he'll be the counter puncher. He doesn't mind it. You know what I'm saying? And that's just going to be an interesting stylistic clash. You know what I'm saying? That's going to be an interesting clash to see happen. Here.
We could go big screen. Oh, there we go. All right.
That was weird.
I thought you were going to do the.
I have a feeling I know what happened. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? So stylistically, that is a very interesting fight, Oshaki Foster and Emmanuel Navarrete. But there's some gumbo being made right now, man, between Oshaki and Raymond Ford, bro. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see that, because to me, that's a 50-50 fight. I mean, I really do.
Me too.
Yeah, I think that, again, if we're going to talk stylistically, I think Raymond Ford could beat Shockey Foster. And then now it becomes even more fun, right? Can Raymond Ford beat Navarrete? So Navarrate's in a good spot, man. You know, this becomes the, right back to you, the boxing politics of it all. Does Top Rank want to keep the money for themselves? Do they want to make a deal with Matchroom? Does this go on the Zone? Are they trying to make an ESPN deal? But yeah, in terms of a match, I'd love to see Raymond Ford versus Shockey Foster.
Right. HLD, I hear what you're saying. You said Shock was getting whooped for 12 rounds by the last no-name Mexican before pulling off the KO for sure against Rocky. This new Navarrete would destroy Shock throwing the towel. Here's the thing, right? Oshaki has more experience since that last fight that you saw him in that he was losing. I've seen the evolution in him. I've seen him become more patient. I've seen him deal with a very tricky Conceição. You know what I'm saying? I've seen how he had to figure that out. You know what I'm saying? How that became real hardcore mathematics for him. I also know that he made some changes as far as the nutritionist is concerned. Keep in mind that he was talking about moving up to 135 because he didn't know if he can make the weight anymore. So he's overall just a more experienced, smarter fighter than he was when he fought Rocky. And I think that just counts, man. I think that fight you're talking about with Rocky, I think that's experience. And I think yesterday's price ain't today's price when it comes to those talking points. Shout out to Coach Hector Bermudez in the building, says Foster's biggest advantage is ring IQ and defense. 100%. I agree with you on that. And I think that ring IQ is all about that experience, all about understanding, having those sparring sessions with the Shakur Stevenses and things of that nature. He's just a smarter fighter than he was in his last fight. He'll be a smarter fighter because of that Stephen Fulton fight and more confident going into a Navarrete fight. And we have to take that into consideration that we don't know how that shows up. That might show up in 4 aces or in a full house. You know what I'm saying? That might just change the whole game up. Using sharp jabs and quick counters. You know what I'm saying? Definitely a 50-50 fight.
Yeah, and I like that. Again, we have channels like ATP Combat Media and others who will really break down this weight division, because this is one of the more exciting weight divisions, man. We're talking about Raymond Ford, who doesn't even have a title yet, fighting Shockey Foster. We just saw Navarrete unify with Nunes. Let's not forget about the former champion here, Kakachi, who's fighting the current champion, Jazza Dickens. I mean, that's, if you look at Ring Magazine's rankings, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so everybody in that top 10 is essentially fighting each other, which makes this whole thing kind of fun to find out who the champion will be.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I'm bringing my brother Ray
what up?
In the building.
Finally.
Yeah. More some OT, so you know, I had to catch up on some Z's. What's going on?
I already know, bro.
Yeah. Listen, man, I love it. I love the conversation. You know, that's my guy, bro. Shock Foster ain't losing in no Navarrete, no shape for.
Okay.
Listen,
hey, man,
you know what? And I'm lying. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm lying. There's always a way to lose. Let's keep it clear, right? But I think I think Shockey has a true approach to every fight that he gets into. I think he analyzes, he sits down, and he looks at what his situations are. I think Navarrete is just too flat-footed and too slow for Shockey Foster. I think he gets picked apart. I think unless he's highly aggressive, I know he throws from them like wide looping angles and things of that nature. Absolutely, I mean, I'm okay with that. But as far as him just beating Shockey, Navarrete beating Shockey, I just don't see it. I don't see a clean way of him doing it without some type of hiccup in the Shockey side of the fence. As far as Raymond Ford, good fight. But Raymond Ford, I think, is outclassed. I didn't know first of all, I didn't know he was that much smaller than Shockey Foster. And the Shockey Foster, I think I mentioned this before with the Fulton fight. The guy sees everything, man. He sees everything. I've watched this guy over and over again. I remember talking about the whole on Freaker Channel, the whole fight he had with Conceição, which you just mentioned, the first fight. And clearly they rematched the fight. The WBC did, because they didn't feel that he got a fair shake. Some people say robbery. Some people say, you know, he had Kassekiel was putting on the pressure. I didn't see that. I seen him out put on a boxing clinic with Kassekiel, and I just thought it was crazy. As far as him getting the belt back and doing what he had to do, he stood in the pocket and he fought that guy. He showed ambition and he did everything he had to do to show how he could fight somebody that creates pressure and go toe to toe with them. Rocky Feldman, again, we just mentioned that fight. He literally took on a hard fight, I think a slightly bigger fighter, and he boxed with him. And even though he was looking like he was going to lose that fight, he pulled it out in the end, man. He ended up doing his thing. So, I mean, the guy
fights like that, Ray, like there's lessons to be learned as well.
Right.
Right? So it's like people sometimes discount the fact that, but he made it out of that fight with a victory. And and did we or did we not see him become better since then? Have we not seen an evolution in him? It's like those fights make you or break you. And I think there's an argument there to say a fight like that made an O'Shaquie Foster somebody who, that fight in particular,
his angles changed. If you notice,
who's gonna give Navarrete issues, right?
His angles, right. His angles changed. His punch from the hip changed. All that changed with that fight. He put himself in a situation where he's not going to get into that situation again. He may, I think, with Navarrete, he may get in that situation. It may be tough for him, but I think he just outclassed it. I think he's just too fast, too swift, and too alert for Navarrete. Those are the things I see. As far as Raymond Ford, I think Raymond Ford is just more of a he's an aggressor. Like he's a sharpshooter, but he's aggressive. You know, he's an aggressor when he comes to approach O'Shaquie Foster. And I think when you have him and O'Shaquie, if they ever get in that ring, which it sounds like that may happen first, we'll see. We'll see the experience kick in for O'Shaquie Foster over Raymond Ford. And I think Raymond Ford is just too hungry. And I think that can cloud your judgment. And I think that takes the difference in the fight. When you approach the fight, we get that Brian Norman, I'm not going to say the other guy's name, situation where, you said it. You get the situation where the experience does make a difference. You know what I mean? I know. I just like playing around, Clay. Anyway, you know, you get that experience factor, and those things make a difference in a fight like that because, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that he hasn't been on the bright lights. He has. He's been in Riyadh, you know, and he lost a tough fight to Nick Ball. So it's not that he can't get in those situations. It's just I don't see him just like Fulton surpassing somebody on a level of O'Shaquie Foster who can just do it all, bro. He's like a chef in the kitchen.
Yeah, this is really good stuff, Ray. Can I ask you a question so that I can keep hearing what you're saying? You're making a lot of good points. If you are O'Shaquie Foster, though, and Raymond Ford has nothing to offer you, why would I fight him when I can go right after the king or to be the king? I'm already with Top Rank. The other guys are with Top Rank. We're already number 1 and number 2. Why am I even talking to? Why didn't he just do what you eloquently not like to say? Why didn't he just do the Devin Haney and go, bro, you're worth nothing to me right now?
Listen.
Yeah, and not to mention, hold on, let me add to that. Not to mention, you went to that fight with purpose. And the purpose was to get in there and challenge the winner of Emmanuel Navarrete and Sugar Nunez. What happened to that? Why didn't that happen? Why are we talking to Raymond Ford and doing that? Why didn't we see you? I was expecting him to get involved in that conversation in a way to maybe even walking into the ring. What happened?
I think warrior spirit plays a part. When you're a boxer, you have that fight in you, and you don't like, you accept all challenges. This is just something that happened in front of the camera. We don't know why. We know why he was there. He was there for that reason, for that winner of that fight. He wants to make that that fight with Navarrete. We all know that. But here's where I see the issues. I mean, he might have been there to do so, but we've seen the same thing happen with Sugar Nunez and Raymond Ford, right? He was at Raymond Ford's last fight. He was there waiting to be called into the ring and set all these. Raymond Ford. He was there to set all this stuff up, and then they turned around and told
Navarrete to get in the ring.
Navarrete to get in the ring.
So Ford was there?
Yeah, he was at
I
that.
didn't know he was there.
He was
Okay.
there.
Yeah, he was at
there.
that fight. He was waiting for the whole thing. He was sitting next to Eddie, which is crazy. And for Eddie to do that was crazy, right? Because we thought he was in line for that fight. But
Right.
things happen, right? These things all happen. I just think that when you have O'Shaquie Foster, he's not going to turn out any smoke. And I love the warrior spirit. This is where I'm talking about. He has that in him. Okay, let's talk about it, little man. All right, that's what you want? Listen, man, I'm going to beat the brakes off you. You know what? I'm still going to get that title because either he going to hold on to it till we get there or, you know what I mean?
So do you think that he's really entertaining doing that fight before fighting in Navarrete?
No, I don't think so. Ultimately, no. I think that it's an option. I don't think it's an entertainment. Like I think he really wants to unify.
If Navarrete, now here's a wild card. Here's a player in there's two players really that I got my eye on who can kind of get in the middle of this, but one of them mainly is the lack of closure, right? From a stoppage that a lot of people were upset about. They felt like Navarrete was on his way to losing that fight against Charlie Suarez.
Say it with me, Clay. The Filipinos getting robbed again.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So does Emmanuel Navarrete take a moment, and I'm not saying tune up, because obviously that fight wasn't a tune up, but just to say that, let me get some closure here. Let's go ahead and close that up real quick. Right. And does that provide an opportunity for an O'Shaquie Foster to line something up with a Raymond Ford on the back end of that? What do you think?
That was actually going to be my next point. That I think that Navarrete has unfinished business. And I think that's a possible fight that he could even lose. We've seen that fight, right? Shout out to the Filipinos. You know what I mean?
Thank you, Ray.
He did his thing. He actually put that boy in a situation where we think this guy is great, right? But we seen him at his best, and he didn't do so well with say his name is Suarez, right? Charlie Suarez.
Charlie Suarez.
He didn't do so well. He didn't look so good. You know what I mean? So, and that's not the first. That was back-to-back fights too. That was the second fight that he looked like shameful. And not to mention he lost to Baranchek before that. So, you know what I mean? So this Navarrete is not the sharpest tool in the shed, to say the least, when it comes to fighting. He's just been always a bigger guy at the 130 division, and I think he's able to dominate these smaller guys, especially with the way he punches from these weird angles and the looping hooks, bro. He has a long reach, and those reaches he's just able to make connections and dominate the smaller fighters. But when you get a guy that's skilled, whether it be Charlie Suarez, who literally shut him down. He literally went inside that pocket. He smothered those hooks and all those little weird jabs and whatever angled shots he threw, smothered him and made him look normal. Then you had the second section of the conversation where I think this does open the opportunity for O'Shaquie Foster to make a fight with Raymond Ford. And absolutely so. It should happen because this is a fight that's been brewing. This is remember the basketball game Arch Rivals? This is exactly what that is. This is an arch rival. This is something that has to happen, whether it's now or later. And why not get this fish off my plate? No, not disrespectful by calling it fish. I'm just saying, not get this off my plate. You know what I mean? So I can move on to a bigger dish. You know what I mean? Or the appetizer. I mean, get rid of the appetizer so I can get to the main course. That's the way I'm looking at it. And I think for both of them, it says a lot. And I don't think Bob Arum, this is another point I wanted to make, and then I'm going to land my plane. Bob Arum has done this with many fighters that he feels that he doesn't want to hold to the higher start. Like if he sees something, and we already seen him try to rob O'Shaquie Foster once. We've seen the Bub Crawford situation where he wouldn't give him Pacquiao. We've seen the situation with Shakur where he didn't want to give him Oscar Duarte. And make sense out of this. Both of those guys that I mentioned, Bud and Shakur, were WBO champions. So they could have moved up and got these fights, right? But they didn't allow those things to happen. Why? Because Bob Arum got in the way of it and made them move different directions. And I think that's crazy, to say the least. And I think this is maybe a move they may pull with O'Shaquie Foster until there's nothing left. It's just making the fight bigger.
Right. You said two names, by the way, Clay. So who was the second name?
You know who the second name is. I'm gonna bring it up, man. I think, listen, we got a big card coming up in September. Canelo Alvarez, right? Mexico against the world, right? Right. I can see Emmanuel Navarrete on that card, bro. You know what I mean? Now it could be O'Shaquie Foster for the big unification and the LINEAL Ring Magazine championship belt on the line. Very realistic that fight could be the fight on that card. But hey, bro, there's an elephant in the room, man. Rafael Espinoza, 126, has been sitting here, a big 126 pounder holding that WBO title. There was rumors of this last year of him coming up to 130, potentially leveraging that and fighting against an Emmanuel Navarrete. What about that fight?
Go ahead, Ray. I keep
man.
I was trying to explain this to Clay that
You ain't
I'm
Ray's on my side. Watch. Watch what Ray about to say.
Ray,
Listen,
go ahead.
man.
Let me hear what you got to say about it.
You know what? I think Navarrete is definitely game for this fight. I think that's a uphill battle for Espinoza. I think Espinoza does have the opportunity to go up there and make this fight happen. It makes a lot of sense because this is where the money is. This is a money fight, and Mexico versus the world, that just says it all. That speaks to everything. Matter of fact, if you actually look at the fight, Mexico versus Mexico just now, look at that fight. Look how it turned out. Look how he had his fan base. Sugar Nunez had his fan base. It was a big event for Mexico. And I think that steps up the game. That evens out the playing field. I think Espinoza has what it takes to beat a Navarrete based on his height and his sharp jab and keeping the distance. But Navarrete, I think, is too much at the end. I think his I think if we get that fight, which would be a great fight on that card, I think the angles will hurt Espinoza. And the reason why I say that is because if we watched that first Robeisy Ramirez fight, it caught Espinoza by surprise. Who fought exactly like Navarrete with them weird angles and pop shots. So only difference is the pressure from Navarrete. He can line up to some straight jabs that may hurt him, but I don't think he does, man. I think he overlooks this fight, and not overlook. I think he oversteps his boundaries, and he crushes Espinoza. I'm being honest.
Right. Now listen, I'm not saying
by the way, Ray, because that's what I was trying to tell Clay.
No, No. Wait a second. I'm talking about a great fight.
Yeah, it's going to be a great fight.
Navarrete to win that fight, okay? But I'm saying that's a shootout. That's a big fight. Yep. Rafael Espinoza versus Emmanuel Navarrete is a big fight, bro. It's a shootout, and Espinoza can win that fight. I think it's a great fight, man. I think people want to see it. Shout out to Love C. What does it say? Love Seat Legend.
Love Eats Legend.
Loves Eat Legend. Okay, whatever. Yeah, exactly. Man.
I think it's Love Seat. I think it might be Love Seat.
That's what I think it is too. I think it's Love Seat. Like,
yeah.
But that being said, though, I don't think Rafael Espinoza would be petitioning as a mandatory for Navarrete. I think Navarrete would take the fight as a title defense, a voluntary title defense. He would take that bag. He's going to feel like he can win that fight, and he knows there's going to be a lot of money on it. You know what I'm saying? And especially if that's a fight that Turkey's interested in. If Turkey's interested in that shootout and just wants to see Mexico shoot it out, or Canelo, if his matchmakers are the ones putting that together, I can see that happening. But in the spirit of the theme of the event, Mexico against the world, I think it's the Oshaki Foster fight that ends up being on that card.
Yeah, no,
and there'll be a lineal title involved in it. Why wouldn't they have it?
Yes, it will.
Yep. Yeah, there's just too many good fights out there, and if we're gonna do a Mexico versus Mexico, what I was trying to tell Clay, Ray, was that why would we do that when I'm not convinced Brandon Figueroa wouldn't beat Rafael Espinoza, because everybody's so high on Rafael Espinoza.
What Brandon Figueroa is already on schedule is going to be against, and I'm telling you, I'm giving you a prediction right now. It's going to be against my guy Shushu. That's the fight, brother.
That's the play out. That's the play out. They're trying to make that fight happen.
But what I was trying to say though, Ray, is I was trying to explain to Claymore that my issue, it's not really a problem, because I understand why people like Rafael Espinoza, but I see Rafael Espinoza the same way I see Sebastian Fundora. Like, who have you really beat, dude? Like Robeisy Ramirez? Okay, that's it. Because you, sir, Rafael Espinoza, has defended it already 4 times. So that means you fought 5 title fights, and the only person in that whole group that you fought that's a real deal was Robeisy Ramirez the first time. Who, by the way, shout out to Robeisy. You'll probably end up in Zuffa since you're a free agent now. But having said that, why does Rafael? No. They Dan Raphael said that he's a free agent now. So that's
right. But I saw a flyer. I feel like with Robeisy Ramirez, I feel like I saw a flyer.
You might be right. I didn't see one, but you might be right. But my point though, Ray, is that you got Rafael Espinoza, right, and then you got Angelo Leo, then you got Brandon Figueroa, who's the most exciting win so far at 126 on top of Shushu this year. Those two, right? So Brandon Figueroa, Shushu, that's great. Why can't I, before we go talking about Rafael Espinoza, Ray, getting a chance to fight Navarate, why can't I see Rafael Espinoza fight Angelo Leo? Go unify that title, man. Go do that, bro. Like do something at 126.
Wow. That's a good point. Listen, all these are good points. It's just you know what it is? Boxing, those divisions are just so close, so tight. Boxing is in a great space, right? Clay mentions this all the time. Boxing is in a great space. And the reason why it's in a great space, because and this is why you have to pay attention to these divisions that are so close to 135. And people like to, I don't like the smaller fighters, this and that. Because all these fighters at all these lower divisions are going to make their way up there. And the only way they're going to get recognized when they get there and be a staple point is by winning their divisions underneath, right? So I think slowly but surely we're going to see the 126s, the 122s, the 130s move up to the glamour division of 135, right? The lightweight division. And we're going to see how good they really are when they get to that level, because that's the next step, right? That's that glamour division. That's where the names are housed. So right now they're making names for themselves in the divisions, and they're putting their divisions on the map. And when you have all these collective fighters, listen, they got to fight each other. And the thing is that I love, they're not ducking no smoke. They're willing to fight each other from what I see. And they're all willing. They're all proven combatants. They're not like they're, Espinoza. Yeah. I mean, he's just too much, I think, for a lot of guys in that division. For a lot, not all. Right? Yeah, not all, but a lot. And I think that says a lot.
Yeah, no, my only pushback to that is I don't know that to be true yet, because I think Shushu Carrington would beat the hell out of him.
That's a tough fight.
I mean, sure, it's a good
you
fight.
Gotta ask me how I feel, but I already done said it, man. Shushu gonna chop that tree down. I done talked to Shushu about this fight.
That's what. So
and
then
Shushu was like, brother, they don't even know.
So that's what I'm trying to say, though, right? You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. We're elevating Rafael Espinoza to fight right now, arguably the best 130-pound fighter in the world. Why? He hasn't done anything yet, in my eyes, at 126, other than hold on to a WBO title. Let me see you beat Angelo Leo before I start giving you that opportunity. And let me see you beat Brandon Figueroa before I start giving you that opportunity. Because now, if the whole argument were Robeisy Ramirez, Angelo Robeisy Ramirez, man. Okay, cool. Yeah, he's a medalist. I get it.
I wouldn't put Angelo Leo in the ring with him. I think that's a wash for Espinoza.
Well, I'd like to just see something.
I know. I hear you. Because of the unification, I get it. But I just think that's an easy fight for it. Now, don't get it wrong. Angelo Leo is he's a dog. Like, he's almost got that Jojo Diaz mentality.
That's
like,
what you said it perfectly. Jojo Diaz is perfect.
Bro, he has that mentality where he'll go in there and he'll fight. But we seen a guy in that ring that went on that approach, ended up with his eye left his head. So we got to make sure that
Angelo Leo is straight to me. He's a good fighter, but 100% Jojo Diaz energy. Just a great dance partner still to me. The weakest champion in the division.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? The weakest champion. The big fight to me is Brandon Figueroa Shushu, and if not Brandon Figueroa Shushu, then let's do Shushu Espinoza.
Rafael Espinoza.
And then put Brandon Figueroa, Angelo Leo.
There we go. I love that. Do that.
And that Figueroa fight might be a tough fight for Figueroa because he don't like pressure. Right? That's what makes that
might be the better fight, actually. That's why I thought Brandon Figueroa had a better chance of beating someone like Rafael Espinoza, but against Angelo Leo, the way Angelo Leo caught what's his name? The guy, Luis.
I can't remember his name right now.
Yeah. The way he caught him, like he could catch Brandon Figueroa that way.
But the intangibles are that guy was not as tall, didn't have that reach, fought a little different stylistically. Espinoza and Brandon Figueroa bring those intangibles that we always have to factor in, which is that height, that reach, and the ability to manage it is going to make the difference in how these fights look. When it comes to Rafael Espinosa, he's really good at managing that. It's keeping everybody outside of that jab, and he manifests so much power because of that, because he's hitting people at the ends of his punches. He's getting full extension on his shots. Brandon still fights small.
Yes.
Still fights like he's a little guy sometimes, gets in there, gets low, and gets into those Sebastian Fundora melees that we always complain about with Sebastian Fundora. Brandon finds himself in those situations. So against Angelo Leo, I think that fight becomes more competitive.
Right.
And I think Angelo Leo could beat Brandon Figueroa, right? I don't know who I'd actually favor in that fight, to be honest with you. I think it's like a 50-50 fight because of the way Brandon Figueroa chooses to fight. But Rafael Espinosa is what we want Sebastian Fundora to be, and he's not.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I don't put the, you know what I'm trying to say? He's actually that guy. Like, he's working behind the jab. He doesn't fight small.
You're absolutely right. He's much better technically. My problem with him, again, and it's not even really a problem, it's just a fact. Fight somebody, dude. Fight somebody.
I mean, again, this is what I just said, right? We don't know the names in those divisions. I know you know everybody.
Nah, but the fights he's been in, bro.
To be fair, Ray, his last win was against Arnold Kagai. Arnold Kagai is a good fighter.
Right,
but he's not in the top 10, bro.
Yeah, exactly. What I was going to say is we got to look out. He's with Top Rank, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And Top Rank moves and saves their champions for certain reasons, bro. They move them certain ways. They line them up.
But with Rafael Espinosa, it really feels like he's in a Top Rank protective custody program. Like
exactly.
The other fighters have never felt this bad before. Like, it's getting bad with him.
I don't know, bro. They were doing that with Oscar Valdez. They did that with for a long time.
Yes.
So they've been doing it. Lomachenko, you could say, had that a little bit. I would say the only one they really kind of gave the green light to was Teofimo Lopez, and I think we got that same energy that we have with another person I won't mention, but they protect the fighters and other promotional companies, right? They move them a certain way and they make them look like they're this great fighter, and then they won't let them fight anybody that's of significance that the fans want to see. So it is what it is. So, I'm not mad at any of these choices. I think Espinosa can beat all the other champions. I think the other champions besides Angelo Leo has a shot of beating him. Very clearly, I think Brandon Figueroa actually feel more comfortable, and he won't fight down in a fight with Rafael Espinosa because of the height. I think it makes it more of an interesting fight for Figueroa. We get to see his skill set. I really think we'll find a skill set because the guy has a beard. The guy can definitely take a shot in the chin and pause, but he can definitely take those punches. So we know that. So he's game. And now he has to fight up instead of fighting down. I think we see a different character from him. But him fighting Angelo Leo, again, that's a mismatch, bro. I'm sorry. He might walk into hell fighting Angelo Leo. I hate to say it. And as far as Bruce Carrington, I mean, I think he's the equalizer to all these guys. I think he has a skill set to beat all of them on the equal playing field. And it's just, that's what makes that 126 so fire. That's crazy. But I would like to see them all get in the ring. Hey, pick your poison. Let's get it going. I'm ready. I just want to see great fights. And I that's what this is all about. It's definitely all about these great fights, and they're there. They're there to be made. 130 has gotten very interesting, to say the least, with what just happened this particular weekend. I think, to me, it makes it more exciting because I feel like we're about to see a lineal champion in that division. We're about to see more unifications, and we're about to see even potentially undisputed conversations, because I don't think Jazza Dickens is ducking no smoke in real time. I think he's kind of he's
fighting Kakachi, man. Kakachi's a tough fight for him.
He's coming to get,
and Kakachi's
let's be honest, we gotta hope that Jazza wins that fight. I am rooting for Jazza Dickens win that fight because
you think Kakachi's gonna drop the belt?
He's gonna play keep away, bro. He's gonna be a pain in the ass, bro. No, I hope he drops the belt. I don't think he will unless he really has to. He's confronted with a mandatory, maybe, but outside of that, you know who I want to see pick up that belt low key? That Japanese dude. What's his name? Tsusumi? what's his name?
Oh, no,
Hayato
Hayato or Raito. They're not ready though, Clay. They're not.
Nah,
even ranked
one of them is
Hayato
mandatory.
Hayato is
was
the
number 4.
oh, you're right. He's the number 3 right now.
Yeah.
Hayato could be in line. Hayato could be in line.
I think he takes that. I think he beats the cat.
He's only 8-0.
I don't care. That's why I said he's
he's a fighter. Yeah, he's ready. He's ready.
I think he's ready. I ain't gonna lie, man.
He's ready.
Every time I watch him fight, I'm like, damn, bro, that boy can. Let me tell you, salute to Raymond Ford. And I'm not saying you scared, brother, because I'm a big fan. But you did turn that smoke down. You ain't want to get that. You ain't want that. You was like, I ain't fighting that dude, bro. I want a belt. Okay,
right.
You right. You right. You listen, bro.
Right.
You right. But
yeah, I mean, high risk, low reward, right?
Yeah, bro. But high risk. That's what I'm saying. We're acknowledging high risk, bro. Boy got some hands, boy. I like to see a Hayato fight, man. I like to see him fight. So
both of them.
I hope
both of them.
Yeah, both the brothers. You know what I'm saying? But one of them is really green, but still both of them are nice.
Yeah, Raito is really green, right? Like he's super green.
Super
I know.
Hayato
I'm saying they're both great.
More ready.
That's nephew right there. You know what I'm saying? That's nephew right there.
That's nephew.
That's nephew right there.
Yeah, I think he's only still 18 too, right?
Yeah,
I know.
Super young, yeah.
That's
what
I'm
saying.
saying.
With a hair perm, you know what I'm saying? With a hair dye, you know what I'm saying?
He's got the
shout out to real.
I was gonna say Funko Pop, whatever it is, K-pop. He got the K-pop look.
Oh man, we gotta close the show, man. Don't get me going on Amado Vargas's hair, because me and Clay had
oh no, yo, he's talking about the bloodline. But shout out to, but we didn't even talk about the undercard. Emiliano Vargas, man, listen, boy, that boy mean, he mean, bro. I'm ready to see him do a lot more things as well. And Tamir Smalls. Boo! What happened with Tamir Smalls?
Yo, hold on. Isn't he?
What? Tamir Smalls was such a disappointment. I don't know what's going on over there, bro. They got to figure it out, because I feel like that kid has a lot more potential in him. He's way better than what he showed us that night, but he's going to need the proper guidance. He's going to need the proper motivation. I don't know what it is, but what a disgusting performance by him against Abel Rahman. What did you think about that fight, Ray? Did you see it?
No, I didn't even see it, bro. Actually, no, I think I did catch the highlights of it. But listen, man, what you gonna do, bro? What you gonna do?
Tamir disappointed me. Yes, you did, Toledo. Trace, you did.
It's expectations. That's actually what it is. You know what it is? You put somebody in high expectations in situations that you believe they are, and it just lets you down. That's why you can't expect. I think you said this best, Clay. You can't go in there with expectations of these fighters. You can't allow these fighters to dictate how they're going to fight before they fight. Because once you start putting that out there and you start believing something, you're going to get crushed. Your feelings are going to get hurt. You're going to be worrying about, well, who is this guy? Yo, you know what? He's a bum. And that's when you start cussing him and throwing him to the trash and all the other nonsense, right? So, I mean, it is what it is, though. But you know what? He wasn't the guy that we thought he was. I mean, it's not his first rodeo on that side of the street of finding out who he is and what he can do. He's met challenges before, and I think, you know, when you have a fighter like Tamir Smalls going up against certain fighters, I just think he's not ready for that level, and I think he needs to work on some things. Yes. Right, he needs to get some experience and just listen, work on your craft. You'll get there. You'll get there.
Yeah, he needs to step it up. He needs to step it up, and he needs to just be more active. And yeah, it definitely spoke to, you need more. You're not polished enough. Yo, shout out to Zero Given. Said it's been said that some fighters need to take on real fights. Can you talk about the business of matchmaking? I assume matchmaking is more challenging than fighters calling out their fighters. 100% other fighters. It's the promoters, and that's what the Zuffa thing is all about, right? That's what, if anybody's a big fan of Zuffa, what they love about it is that the elimination of that thing you're talking about. What you're talking about is a politics of building up fighters, but at the same time, at what cost? You want to build up the fighter. You want to step them up. You want them to level up and get better, but not at the cost of their development. Not at the cost of them becoming better fighters. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to just build them up to be superstars and be artificially flavored. And a lot of fighters are ending up in that situation where they're at a certain place, but they're really not that good because they really haven't fought the proper opponents that were going to get them there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yep.
It's about that time, guys. I'm not going to lie.
Sir.
You know what I mean? Shout out to everybody in the building, man. I appreciate the support, appreciate the love, man. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. Hit the like button. This was a great segment here. Until the next one, you know what it is, man. It's that ATP Combat Media Show. Salute to everybody in the building. At this point,
we out.
Who knew I would make it this far? They hated, they never believe me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic gotta say. I got them picking up the pieces. That to me, you really playing with your life. I'm about to come and run it all back. I'm the new era, about to snap back. You ain't fitted for it, cause you all cap like. Hold up, I shoot my shot. Wait, hold up.